Hey, the last shall be first. When I get done this 10-page prepared remarks, you can all have another drink. Now for a few words about another outstanding driver and owner, a charter member of NESMRA, and a 30-year veteran of going around in circles, Richard Batchelder. Racing Richard, Dick, or Batch, as he is called, was the oldest of 10 children, growing up on a farm. His roots, and believe this one or not, his roots can be traced all the way back to 1642. No, he's not quite that old. When the first Batchelder settled in the New Hampshire town of Northampton, Dick acquired his love for racing when his father and uncle took him to the old Dover Speedway in New Hampshire. Upon seeing cars like the 14 of Freddie Schultz, the L1 of Red Barbo, the Lazy 2 of Freddie LaCasey, the Flying 5 of Smokey Boutwell, and many of the other great drivers of the day, flying around the tight quarter-mile track, he knew that his calling, what his calling was. And as soon as he graduated from high school, he was on his way to the Pine Speedway with a 1931 Chevy Coupe, which he promptly wrecked. He then hooked up with Ernie Norman, driving a GMA C 6-cylinder, which he drove to the first feature victory in Dover in 1960 that paid $35, and he thought he was a millionaire. In 1965, I first met Dick under very unusual circumstances. It was a Saturday night in June at the Pine Speedway in Groveland. This was the same night that our super modified club, NESMRA, was born. When all the Class A cut-down owners and drivers decided to boycott the night's races unless the payoff was increased. Where have we heard that before? Well, fat chance. Of course that didn't happen. And Dick and his brother-in-law, Roaring Roy, showed up that evening with 2 new cars and joined up with the rest of the NESMRA members like NERA Hall of Famers, Ollie Silver, Don McLaren, Eddie West, Bentley Warren. That year, Dick campaigned his home-built cut-down at every NESMRA race without winning a feature event. With only 1 race remaining at the old Lee Raceway in 1965, Dick sold his car, and the new owner was going to have Howie Brown drive it. Well, something went wrong with the communications, and Howie had another ride that day. So when Batch arrived at the track, as a spectator, he was quickly asked if he wanted to drive his former car one more time. And of course he said yes, and promptly went out and won his first of many NESMRA feature events. Dick has often been ribbed about his first NESMRA win, something like this. Gee, Dick, once you found someone else to pay the bills, you took some chances and finally drove that car up to its full potential. And indeed he did, and he won his first of many, many events. Dick went on from that by owning and maintaining several different cars, establishing a highly successful reputation for being a consistently clean, smooth, patient, intelligent, and competitive driver. He rarely wrecked or had his equipment break, and nearly always was a top 5 finisher. This country gentleman brought a driving style to the track that could easily be compared to today's Matt Kenseth on the NASCAR circuit. A few of Dick's many highlights over the years are listed in your program book. Dick is proud of the fact that he had no serious injuries from racing, never spent a night in the hospital, had a few sore Mondays. He has been married to his wife Judy for nearly 50 years. She has been by his side at tracks from Canada to Florida. Recently, Dick told a newspaper reporter that his wife, Judy, stuck with me good. I wonder what that really means. I'll have to find out afterwards. Judy and Dick have 3 grown children, Becky, Dick, and Jim, and a couple of grandchildren, all of whom are here today. And if you need a tractor, a dozer, a backhoe, or just want to do some bench racing, and relive a few of the memories of the golden days of auto racing, drop in and see Dick and Judy at their Route 1 tractor sales in Northampton, New Hampshire, or their other location that is in Lebanon, Maine. Now, just before I ask Dick to come up here, I believe his sister, Roy Eldridge's wife, might have something to say. Might. Is that correct?
Thank you. To use the word proud doesn't seem strong enough to describe how I feel. I'm one of the lucky ones who are fortunate enough not only to know the honorees Dr. Dick and Howard Brown, but I also someone I've known all my life. I can remember hearing him singing Saturday mornings as he did his chores or worked on his vehicle in the driveway. We didn't have a garage. I can remember the field bomber rides down back in the woods on the farm, the rides in the old hay wagon down the big hill across the street just to see how fast they would go. It's a wonder we're all still alive. I can remember when you started racing and I'd get to go with Judy, a very gifted wife. The day you asked me to let her your race car, for whatever reason, you have no idea how proud I was. Going to the races and watching you was my introduction to racing world. Thanks to you, the friends I have made and the life with Roy is awesome. There are so many stories I could tell, but somehow there's never enough time. You are a kind, considerate, loving person, and thank you for this time to say, Dick Batchelder, I am so proud you are my brother, and I dearly love you.
Thank you, Mary. And with that, let's have Dick. It's my extreme pleasure to ask Richard Batchelder to come forward and post his Hall of Fame plaque and officially be inducted into the NERA Hall of Fame. Come on up here, Richard.
I guess this is one of these guys, the older I get, the better I was. But I don't remember it this way. I'm trying to read Ken's notes instead of my own. Some time ago, my wife asked me if, oh, by the way, is my fly closed? Every time I get an award, some smart ass on my pit crew hollers that my fly's open, so I checked that. But some time ago, my wife asked me if I thought I'd ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I said, nah, we live way up in Maine, we've been out of racing 20 years, nobody will remember me. And when Bruce called a short time ago to tell me, I said, wow, they must have got to the bottom of the barrel already. I thought there was a lot of good guys left. But he assured me that I was nominated and enough people voted on me, so here I am. And my story's no different than any of you other guys. I started racing Class Bs, did pretty good. And at that time, racing supers seemed logical because they were close by. I guess we called them cut downs then. And I don't think any of us ever aspired to go to Daytona or Indy or any place. And we were kind of a tight-knit little group. And when I asked what I was supposed to say up there, they said, tell stories, don't bore them with numbers. So I will do that. When Smith and Conway took over and started the racing, it was a legitimate deal. We made a few bucks. A guy like myself without much money, not too much talent, could win. Now and then they would pick up a special show, and if you won that, it would keep you going. And I really enjoyed it. Now, one little story I got to tell you is, Smith called me one night and he says, we're going to Florida racing. Bring your car down. I said, geez, I don't have any money. You know, I'm a married guy, it's the middle of winter. He said, well, we'll guarantee you the money to get home if you get there. So we left, a buddy of mine named Pudge, who's since deceased, and off we went. I think the only spare we had was the tire for the trailer. And I was really getting around Miami Hollywood Speed Bowl. I thought I was going to set the pole, and the motor exploded. And to show you what it was like back then, Jimmy Landry come along, and he said, I got a motor if you got enough parts to put it together. So somebody found a fence post and a chain, we took the motor out, we built the motor. I guess we got it together, we did not qualify, so we had to start in the rear. Well, it's not a Cinderella story, but I got up to third, and that got us enough money to get home. And then I did pretty good the rest of the week, and I actually come up enough money to buy the motor. And We didn't race for the glory, we enjoyed it. I think the only time I was a little disappointed was I got a lot of advice from Ollie Silver. He was my idol. And he would tell me things that maybe he didn't tell anybody else. And one night I won the feature. I don't remember if I passed Ollie or if I held him off, but I won and Ollie was second. So at the time, the newspaper would put your picture in the paper and a little article about Joe Blow wins at such and such track. Well, I waited all week and there it was on the second page, big in hell. Ollie Silver finishes second at Star Speedway. So that kind of puts you into place. I guess looking back, I'd be proud to say that anybody I ever drove for any length of time, I won at least one feature. I preferred to run my own stuff because I've been known to win a feature and cut the car in half because I thought something would work better. And we all know you don't get through this without a lot of help. A lot of people have helped me over the years. I won't bore you with their names. You don't know most of them. Some of them passed away, but over there is Mike Sargent and Kenny Brown. They were with me through all the glory years. So, and my wife, I raced about 30 years, and I was trying to come up with something smart to say. And she has been to every race I ever raced at but two. And that was because we were way in hell and gone up in Canada somewhere and couldn't find a babysitter or something. Howard Brown and I, 20 years later, are going into the Hall of Fame. I really think this is a big deal. I never realized how much a big deal it was till I got here. And I do appreciate it, and I think it's pretty neat. Thank you.